What's going on, everybody? Today I wanted to share with you a video you may have seen already. I don't know. Quite a few people have sent this to me. It seems to be circulating by a rabbi named Rabbi Yitzchak Berkovits. He's a pretty big rabbi. He is the Rosh Hashiva, I believe, of Eish HaTorah. Started a number of kolim. Pretty big rabbi. And the reason I wanted to share this video and talk about it just a little bit is this is a clip from a longer video. But in this particular clip, it was cut out because he's talking about Eretz Yisrael. And, it's again, I always find it funny, but it's sadly funny, but unfortunately, it's pretty hard these days to find any name brand rabbis, for the most part, talking about this highly controversial subject of living in Eretz Yisrael, which of course is one of the most significant mitzvahs in the Torah, the most talked about mitzvah in the entire Torah, but seems to be the most controversial one. So getting a rabbi, a name brand rabbi like Rav Yitzchak Berkovits, who's a great person in his own right, but catching him on on him talking about Eretz Yisrael publicly is it's rare, unfortunately. So let's just watch this video, and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. I was going to just post this video, just send it around myself anyway. But I kind of feel like he touched on quite a number of points briefly in a very soft-spoken, passing manner. And I wanted to just touch on and expound a little bit on some of the things he said. So here we go.
The calling is for Klal Yisrael to come home, for communities to come. If full American Jewry comes here, there'll be a different flavored Yiddishkeit in Eretz Yisrael.
So this first point, very straightforward. Something I talk about all the time. People have complaints about Eretz Yisrael, the chinuch system, the parnasa, this, that, the communities, the rabbis, the way people act, the customer service. The list goes on as to the problems in Eretz Yisrael. So this very first point, again, many of these things are just they seem like just a passive way of speaking. If people come here, it'll be a different Eretz Yisrael, very beautiful. But the truth is, this is reality. The more Jews that come to Eretz Yisrael, the more American Jews that come to Eretz Yisrael, the better it will get. And all the things that are apparently stopping people from coming to Eretz Yisrael, and the things that people are complaining about, will inevitably be fixed if more American Jews came to Eretz Yisrael. I'm talking about on a physical level, but the truth is, this is only 1,000 times more true on a spiritual level too.
I understand there's a lot of polarization in America today as well. But still, in the West, there's this beautiful balance of being able to be a member of society in every way, and a Talmid Chacham, and connected to Hashem and Yirei Hashem. I think that if communities would start moving here, things would really change drastically. In terms of individuals, things have changed as well. There are communities today of Anglo-Israeli kids who have a new identity. It used to be that an American that moved here who did not integrate totally, an American kid was left without an identity. And that's why so many failed. That's no longer the situation, because there are places to go where they have a new identity. So much of Ramat Beit Shemesh today, for example, they've created a new culture. And these are kids that they're Israeli Americans, American Israelis, whatever you want to call them, and they're not lost. They're not lost, they're not confused. They have a very clear identity. Integration is a wonderful goal, but for Westerners, it doesn't work so well necessarily, very much because of the polarization and so much of the culture that so many of you really, really find alien.
Okay, so before he moves on, this, of course, is the most important point on a practical level of Eretz Yisrael. The complaints and the issues that people have with the life in Eretz Yisrael on a practical level, they have changed. People are still, and unfortunately, most Rabbanim, that from what I understand, from what I hear from other people and from the rabbis I've spoken to, the rabbis who I personally have spoken to before I even made Aliyah, when I was trying to make Aliyah, there's this constant stress on your kids will be lost, your kids will go off the derech, the education system isn't good enough, there's no proper communities, your children won't fit in, you won't fit in. These things are simply not true anymore. And for people to be giving over this misinformation it's not only unfortunate, and false, but it is stopping Jews from moving forward with our ultimate destiny and mission of living in Eretz Yisrael, being a light unto the nations from Eretz Yisrael, and ultimately building the Beis Hamikdash. What he said here is very true. There is a new identity, in a certain sense, of children from American families that when they move to Eretz Yisrael after a generation or so, it's not that they're American kids and it's not that they're Israeli kids. It's a crossbreed, and it's a new type of people. It's a new movement, and it's an amazing movement. It's a geula, a redemptive movement of, again, Jews coming from all over the world, coming to Eretz Yisrael, the traditions and the characteristics and the lifestyles of all these different Jews from all the places that they've been are merging together, and we are creating a stronger, better, more loving, more accepting type of Jew, and it's happening here on the ground in Eretz Yisrael. And this idea that your children will be lost and won't be able to find friends, it's completely untrue. Specifically, as he said, as Rav Yitzchak Berkovits said, in regards to Ramat Beit Shemesh, there are so many thousands and thousands and thousands of American children who are being integrated and living there. You are no longer lost. In Yerushalayim, you have the same thing. You have places like Rehovot and all other growing communities that all have the same characteristics. It's a new type of Israeli, American, French, English Jew that is being created, and it is working. Baruch Hashem.
I want to say a few words about Eretz Yisrael, though, about Eretz Yisrael altogether. Aside from all the of course, this is home. There's no question this is home. There are some aspects of Jewish values that are so much built into the society, from and not from alike. There are so many things that are built into the society that you just don't have in Chutz La'aretz. Let's start with priorities, sane priorities. Perhaps it's because we're surrounded by enemies and that we go from war to war. Perhaps. Baruch Hashem, Israel is far from a third world country today. At the same time, nobody here lives for Gashmias. Nobody here sees comfort as the number one value.
This is, by the way, unbelievably true. I noticed this literally the day I made Aliyah 5 years ago, and I landed. I immediately noticed that people were on their phones less here. There was practically, again, in Ramat Beit Shemesh, where I was living at the time, and it's probably even more true in many other places, there is such little drive for amassing wealth. Nobody here drives nice cars. In fact, if you pull up to Shul in a Lexus, you will get the opposite reaction of that which you will get in America. In America, people will, I remember living in Lakewood, Toms River, I remember when the Teslas were first becoming popular, people were pulling up in Teslas with those folding doors that go up or something. And I remember people from Shul literally stopping learning and flocking outside to check out the new cars and this guy's new cool gadgets. Insanity. In Eretz Yisrael, if you pull up to Shul in a fancy car, people will actually look at you awkwardly, like, why would you have spent so much money on a vehicle that gets you from point A to point B when you could have spent a quarter of that for a vehicle that would equally get you from point A to point B, and you could have spent that money on something better or given it to charity or whatever it is. It is again, it cannot be expressed properly without you living here. People here, now of course the rules are not 100%, they don't apply to every single human equally perfectly, but overall the mentality here is there is so much less of a drive for money, for physicality, and this is one of the key features that are built into the land of Eretz Yisrael. Hashem made it that way. People say, well, I come to Eretz Yisrael, I can't make as much money. That's kind of true. It's harder to make money here, but for very good reason. This is not a land where you're supposed to make money. Money pulls you away from Ruchnius. It pulls you away from your connection to Hashem. Less money and more focus on family and Torah and spirituality brings you closer to Hashem. And it's built within the nature of Eretz Yisrael. It's a land of Ruchnius. It's not a land of Gashmius. Therefore, naturally, like even Rav Berkovits said, you would think that this is something that applies only to the from Jews, the Haredi Jews. But like Rav Berkovits just said, this is really something that applies even to the secular Jews here. I've been to stores where you have the owners are completely not religious, and they'll just be shutting down their store to go hang out with their family in the middle of the day. And I would ask, what are you doing? Why are you closing down the store? And they would just look at me like, I don't want to work right now. I just want to go home. And there's no obsession with needing to be the best store on the block, the best customer service, needing to amass as much money as possible. It's just, I work just enough to pay my bills. And then I want to just hang out with my family or learn Torah or whatever your situation is. So this is also a point that is, it cannot be stressed enough that the feeling here, the capability to be able to connect to Hashem on a spiritual level here is so much easier. It's built into the system.
The other one is, as much as everyone's at everyone else's throats, as much as people scream, argue, disagree, when someone's life is in danger, everybody is there. Then all the superficial differences disappear totally. Yeah, arguing is, I guess, the national sport. People love arguing, and they're good at it, with all the superlatives. But deep down, everybody cares for everybody. In time of tzara, we've seen it. In time of war, everyone speaks to everybody. Everybody's there for everybody.
So this is also something that's obviously very true. We've seen this immensely with the war since October 7th. And unfortunately, there is major fighting between the Haredi and the secular Jews. And it's a major problem. It absolutely is. But on the other hand, there is no question that when push comes to shove, when we are put in a very difficult situation, here in Eretz Yisrael, the teamwork is completely off the charts. And the truth is that just like in America, the news and the media tries to pump up things that on the ground are not true. For example, there is this concept of the amount of fighting between the Haredim and the secular. But realistically, it's mostly some really evil secular politicians trying to attack and hurt the Jews who are learning Torah as much as possible. But on the ground, the actual people that live here, I'll tell you myself and many people I speak to, we don't really see it. I can go into and I have been to very secular yeshuvim and kibbutzim, and I've spoken to people who really are pretty far from, religiousness, being Haredi, obviously, and there really is not much hate. They'll admit there's misunderstandings, and we don't really understand each other properly, and that can lead to some issues. But this passionate hate is something that the media and the news pumps up significantly more than it actually is on the ground. Overall, there is a sense of achdus and working together towards a common goal here in Eretz Yisrael that is much more significant and palpable than anywhere else in the world. And again, that is one of the many features of the Holy Land of Eretz Yisrael, that it brings Jews together.
This you have only in Eretz Yisrael. This is the place. This is the place for our not yet firm brethren. They're certainly better off here. I thought Shimon Apostolf was going to say it because one of his big things is get all the Jews here. At least we'll put an end to assimilation. We won't have intermarriage. That's certainly the case. That's certainly the case. I mean, of course, it's no great source to be a fried Jew in Eretz Yisrael, but at least your kids are going to be Jewish.
This is also quite important. This concept, I could just tell you from my personal situation. I have a brother who went off the derech in America, and he now has Goyish children, unfortunately. And if you met him in the street, you would have no idea that he's a Jew or ever was a Jew. And that is the case for tens of thousands, I don't know, maybe hundreds of thousands, I mean, probably hundreds of thousands, for sure hundreds of thousands, of Jews in America, if not millions, of Jews who are so assimilated you wouldn't even know that they were ever Jews. They don't even know that they're Jewish. In Eretz Yisrael, again, people like to complain about the fact that, people go off the derech in Eretz Yisrael. They don't go off the derech anymore here than they do in America. But for sure, they don't go nearly as far. People here, like Berkovits just said, they don't become goyim. You cannot marry a goy in Eretz Yisrael because there are no goyim to marry for the most part. Granted, there might be a few Russians hanging around, or probably not Jewish. But overall, people here, when they go off the derech, they still wear a Magen David necklace. They usually will still come to shul on Yom Kippur. They will understand traditions. They know how to say Shema Yisrael. In most situations, I will admit that there are some people who are completely lost. But even them, they have national identity. These are things that, again, Jews who go off, who become reformed or whatever it is, second, third generation in America, they actually become anti-Semitic in many situations. They have zero identity. In Eretz Yisrael, that is not the case.
What would the Rosh Hashiva have said? I understood from him. There's only one reason for a Jew to live in Chutz La'aretz, and that is if he's saving other Jews. There is no other excuse for it. Now that we have the opportunity to be home, there is no reason to be there unless you're saving Jews. So if you are, when do you leave? Listen, when you're done. When you're done. Is it safe in Chutz La'aretz? I mean, we see what direction things are going in.
So this concept of you can stay in America if you're doing kiruv work, I hear this from people all the time. There's still work that needs to be done there. So Chabad, when I talk to Chabadniks and they say, we're still doing kiruv work, we're still bringing people back. So from the Chabadniks, I hear it. That's their mission. That's their tafkid in this world. That's what they do best. They bring people back. So for the Lubavitchers out there, I get it. If you want to stay in America because you're really, truly, honestly doing kiruv, if you really are. But on the other, and to people who are not Chabadniks, there are people who are in kiruv. And if you want to be in America because you're really, truly doing kiruv, I think, God bless you. Go for it. The question that every single Jew needs to ask, first of all, if you're not in kiruv, then like what Berkovits just said, what are you doing there? We have Eretz Yisroel. Why wouldn't you come back to the Holy Land? Why wouldn't you come back to our ancestral homeland? Why wouldn't you come back to the place that every moment you live here is a mitzvah in the Torah? Why wouldn't you come back to the place that facilitates teshuvah, that facilitates a closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the ear makes you wise. It's easier to learn Torah here. It's easier to connect to Hashem here. There is absolutely no reason whatsoever, exactly like what Berkovits said, the only reason to possibly stay in America is if you're truly bringing Jews back. But again, on that note, are you really truly bringing Jews back? Is that your full-time job? That's number one. Number two is how many people do we need doing that? Okay? Do we need hundreds of thousands of Jews doing kiruv work? And number three, people don't seem to understand. Eretz Yisrael needs a lot of kiruv work. We have millions upon millions upon millions of Jews here in Eretz Yisrael that can really use some strong, solid, loving kiruv work. And the much easier thing about Eretz Yisrael is, first of all, the kiruv work in Eretz Yisrael is significantly easier, okay? Because they're in the Holy Land. They're in the land that facilitates teshuvah. That's what the Torah says. That's what Chazal tell us. It facilitates teshuvah. Much easier to do kiruv work here. That's A. B is over here, you don't have to figure out who's Jewish, who's not Jewish. Basically, everybody that lives here is Jewish, unless they're an Arab, but they'll tell you pretty straightforwardly. They're all Jewish. In which case, you don't have to do research and figure out which one of your neighbors, which one of these people are Jews. Everybody here is Jews. They all need to be brought back, and it's very easy. And the truth is, the more we bring Jews back in Eretz Yisrael, and the more Jews move to Eretz Yisrael, the more naturally Jews outside of Eretz Yisrael will also come back and flock to Eretz Yisrael, because the world is going to do that for them. As we all saw on October 7th, many Jews who had no Jewish identity woke up and realized, hey, I'm Jewish. My people are being attacked. My people are being destroyed in media propaganda and the anti-Semitism. And just naturally, the Jews who stay in America, who stay outside of Eretz Yisrael, will feel more of a yearning to connect to their heritage when they see the Jewish people in Eretz Yisrael doing what we're supposed to do according to the Torah.
Who knows? Who knows? Only Hashem does. Talk of passports, I go a little further. I tell everyone, prepare your escape route. Have where to go. If you can buy a house here, buy one. You can buy an apartment here, buy one.
This is also something that a lot of rabbis have been kind of mentioning along the way. Have a passport ready, be ready to go, buy an apartment here. So again, it's a cute little thing in passing, but when you think about it, like this is becoming a mainstream thing for rabbis to say. They don't want to talk about Eretz Yisrael. They don't want to talk about how important it is to live here. They don't want to stir anything up because it's too controversial. And a rabbi who talks about Eretz Yisrael gets this. I make a video about them and I blast it out to the world. What are you going to do about it? But when you start realizing that rabbi after rabbi keeps subtly mentioning, by the way, have a passport ready. You might want to start using your brain and thinking, if so many rabbis and so many people keep mentioning this idea that anti-Semitism is on the rise, we kind of just learned from the Holocaust, maybe have a passport ready. Unfortunately, scare tactics work better than reality, but by reality, I mean the Torah. But the fact is, if there's this underlining fear that is slowly making its way through Klal Yisrael, and even the secular Jews are understanding this anti-Semitism and what might and probably will happen in the very near future, again, why do we need to wait till the very last second, till it's too late, till we have to run for our lives? Why don't we take the opportunity right now? If fear is the only thing that's going to get you to Eretz Yisrael, be smart. Get out now while you can still leave with your pride, while you can still leave with your money, while you can still leave with dignity, and come to the Holy Land, the place that every Jew knows that they're supposed to be.
Have a place that you can come to. There's no place like Eretz Yisrael. People here, Jews come home, they're uninhibited. They grow, they open up, grown men cry. We see this on all the trips, everyone we bring here. They feel that it's home. They'll live that way. So what's the message? The message is that if you're saving Jews, you got to save Jews. When things really get bad, again, prepare your escape route. If you're there for any other reason, come home. What are we going to do with chinuch? There are answers today. It's not what it was. It's not what it was. There are many different options. If you can get whole communities to move here, that solves all the problems.
And by the way, notice how we just said, if you can get whole communities here, this concept that people like to bring up from the Shalosh Shavuos, if you know what that is, we can't go up in mass. We can't go up as a wall. We have to keep it subtle. Berkovits clearly here is not playing into that ideology. I don't know what he feels about it, but again, coming in massive groups is the best thing that we can do. It is sad that although Jews, Baruch Hashem, are moving to Eretz Yisrael, it's a trickle. It's a little trickle. It's like those sand timers, whatever they're called. Just one. It's a lot of sand, but it's only one at a time. People should be flowing here, and it'll be easier for people if communities get together and move here. It'll be so much easier.
Hashem should help. Klal Yisrael should come home. Klal Yisrael should come home and grow. And by the way, we all know that the hostages return. They're doing a great job. Being mefarsim emunah. Things in the country have changed. People are much more open. Kids are open. Older people are open. There's an openness here. There's so much room for Aish-style, non-judgmental kiruv, now more than ever. It's a lot easier if your vid is good. But there's plenty to do. There is so much to do here. And although you find it easier to save the Jews there, if you can really find yourself.
The people here in Eretz Yisrael, especially since October 7th, it's been more clear they're so open. People here are so ready to take on the spirituality. We have a lot of work to do here, like Berkovits just said. Doing, that's the key word, do. There's so much work to do here. Why would anyone put in the work in a land that is not ours, where they have to sift through millions of people to find the Jews in between? We'll get to the Jews. There's enough Jews in Eretz Yisrael that need work. Over here, you're dealing with masses of Jews. You're dealing with the Jews are in the correct place. They are ready. Their hearts are open. You can come here. There's no question. The kiruv here, the work here, everything that we do here in Eretz Yisrael changes the world. And like I said, for every person that you are Makarev in Eretz Yisrael, you are inevitably going to be at the same time Makarev people outside of Eretz Yisrael. It's just the Metzius. It's just the characteristic of this land and the way the Jewish people are connected to this land. And this is something that people don't fully understand. Every single Jewish soul is connected to Eretz Yisrael. And the more we make this land holy, and to make this land holy, we need to make more Jews serve Hashem and keep the Torah. And the more we do that, the more we will make this land holy. And the more we make this land holy, the more the neshamas of the Jews all around the world will have a yearning and more of an urge to come and connect to Hashem and find out more. It's just the way the world is. It's the way God created the world, and it's the way God created the connection between the Jewish people and Eretz Yisrael, the chosen land for the chosen people. So guys, you don't like when I say it, at least listen to Rabbi Berkovits. Bezrat Hashem, more rabbis will have the guts to actually speak out in public and say something about Eretz Yisrael. I hope that rabbis learn from Rabbi Berkovits. I mean, again, this is just one snippet from one video of Rabbi Berkovits. I wish he would talk about it more. I wish every rabbi would talk about it more. The fact that Eretz Yisrael isn't the core main topic of conversation in every single Shabbos drasha, in every single speech given by every single rabbi worldwide is mind-boggling. But again, that's the Yetzer Hara. That is the challenge of today. And at least let's take what Rav Berkovits said here, take it to heart, and hopefully we'll catch the next rabbi talking about Eretz Yisrael, and we'll bring it to you then. Chazak v'matz, guys. We'll see you guys next time.